Thank you for downloading this podcast from the British Theatre Guide. For more information about British Theatre Guide, please visit britishtheatreguide.info. Rebecca Biscuit and Louise Mothersole, under the provocative title of Shit Theatre, have been making theatre together for 15 years that has gained a reputation for being far from what the company's name suggests. The duo will be spending the 2025 Christmas season at London's Southbank Centre with their new show, Evita Too, spelt T-O-O, which is set in the presidency of Argentina, like the other Evita that was recently revived at the London Palladium, but tells a very different story. I spoke to Rebecca and Louise just before they started rehearsals for the show. Here is Rebecca, first of all, explaining what it is about and where the story came from.
The original sort of concept for the show is we were making Dollywood, which the show that you saw about sort of Dolly Parton and semiotics and sort of death and stuff. And we were on tour with Letters to Windsor House, which is a show we made before that. And we were in Belfast and we were talking to this theatre technician. We were going over our research for Dollywood, and we'd just got back from the Tennessee body farm where we'd tried to break this, the sort of forensic anthropology centre where they leave corpses out to rot, and it's next to the Dollywood theme park. And we'd gone there as the sort of two sides of the same coin.
It all made sense when you saw the show, right?
It all made sense at the time, David. Yeah. To us, but we were trying to explain. Yeah, we were trying to explain what makes total sense, obviously, to us lot, to this technician that we'd been breaking into this body farm, and we were on the subject of corpses. And he had brought up, oh, did you ever hear the story about Evita's corpse? And we hadn't heard the story about Evita's corpse, which was that it had, after Juan Perón was overthrown and she died in the 50s, that the corpse had disappeared for about 15 years. And it had showed up after he'd remarried, and that he and the new wife had like cleaned up Evita's body and then had the body displayed over their dining room table. And we loved this story.
See-through glass coffin.
In this see-through glass coffin.
Like in Rocky Horror.
Like in fucking Rocky Horror, exactly. Oh my God. Yes.
Like Meatloaf.
Yes.
Yeah, so like Meatloaf in Rocky Horror, there's this famous Evita. So we had this concept for the show that originally was like a sort of relationship drama where it's just Juan Perón and the new wife and the corpse of
dining room table.
Corpse of Evita looming over them, and it's a sort of, it was about baggage, emotional baggage, historical baggage, cultural baggage, and having this sort of new relationship with the literal corpse of the ex-wife, not ex-wife, dead wife hanging over them. And so we sort of started thinking about that show, and then we got
interested in who would what sort of woman would allow her husband to hang the corpse of his previous wife over their dining room table. What woman would allow this? Or be okay with this? So we looked her up.
Encourage it? Yeah.
Encourage it? And we looked it up, and it said Isabel Perón, President of Argentina. And we were like,
oh, okay.
That can't be right.
Yeah.
And then we looked further, and it was.
Yeah, she was president, and not only was she president of Argentina, it said she was the first ever female president of a country in the history of the world. And again, we were like, well, that can't be right, because surely someone would have heard of her.
Someone would have heard of her.
And it's not like she was president for a couple of weeks. She was president for nearly 2 years in the 70s, the 1970s. So like within living memory. And we were like, we've never heard of her. Like, how is this possible? And then we sort of dug into her, and her story kind of exploded outwards. The main thing, well, this is a kind of a spoiler for the show, but we'll tell you, David, because you're in on the secret. She's still alive.
Right.
And she lives in Madrid. And we're like, well, this is absolutely insane. And so the story then became, who is Isabel? And she met President Juan Perón when he was in exile, and she was a nightclub dancer at a nightclub literally called Happy Land. And we're like, well, this is literally writing itself for us. Like, how is this not a musical? Like, this is the musical. Like, the story of Evita is quite exciting. Like, she's a poor woman who dies young and beautiful. Okay. But this
is
woman,
a poor woman who is a go-go dancer, who somehow makes it from go-go dancer to president, who has a right-hand man who is a wizard.
Yeah, so there's then she has this Rasputin character, this man called Jose Lopez Reyca, who is a kind of occultist, who is into the sort of further right of the Peronist party. who ended up sort of finagling himself into the Perón's lives. And some stuff, honestly, this story is so crazy. So much of it cannot even be in the show. There's a whole through line where this cult that the wizard joins after Juan Perón dies, his cult
is part of,
his cult broke into Juan Perón's tomb, chainsawed off Juan Perón's hands, and tried to use that to blackmail the newly elected, like the democratic government in the 80s in Argentina, tried to use that to blackmail them for millions of dollars. And they said, no, thank you. And so Juan Perón's hands are still at large, thanks to this wizard's cult. So that bit isn't even in the show, David. Like, there's so much stuff that is
going. Much.
And so, this story is us. It's us sort of, because it has to be a musical, of course, because
it has to be a musical. I mean, obviously, this story has to be musical. So we also thought, like, in the same way that Isabel Perón sort of has somehow, at the time we didn't know why or how, she'd been sort of missing from history. She was overshadowed by Evita, this woman who came before her, who hadn't even achieved as much as her, but was overshadowing her. And then we were sort of thinking about how we, in trying to make this show, are overshadowed by the original Evita, the musical.
Yes, she's very much hanging over us in every form as well.
Yes.
So the story is like, it's not a full musical. Obviously, it's not, because there's only the two of us and there's only the shit theatre funding. But it's a sort of shit theatre attempt at writing a musical to honour this kind of mad story. And then there's this story of us discovering that she's still alive and showing up at her house in Madrid, essentially, because she lives in Madrid now. She's been exiled. So the story is she was a president for about 2 years. Then there was a military coup. She was imprisoned by the junta for about, nobody knows how long. It's between 4 and 8 years. She was in solitary confinement on the other side of Patagonia, in like the other side of this enormous desert. They eventually, as their power was kind of waning, they set her free. They said, you can be exiled. And she moved back to Madrid. And she's lived there ever since, kind of in the sort of semi-reclusive,
very modest house.
Very modest house on the sort of outskirts of Madrid.
Very modest, semi-detached property.
Yeah.
Why is it just that Lloyd Webber picked the wrong president to do a musical about? Is there another reason why we don't know about her?
They were writing Evita 1 as she was in power.
Yeah.
Right.
What's funny is that as Becca was saying, the very same 18-month period that Isabel Perón was in power as president, they were writing Evita
and premiering Evita. I mean, it's that classic thing. There's a lot of angles to take that you could theorize why, Evita, the Evita 1, as we call her, has the classic trajectory of a woman who dies young and beautiful, and how compelling people, society, whatever narratives feel that women who die young and beautiful are more interesting than a woman who has aged and lived and made a variety of human mistakes and faded in and out of obscurity and lived a kind of, well, not a normal life, obviously, but lived a life and continues to live a life. So it's that kind of thing of this story, of this kind of woman who's a little bit more of an object. They still call her Saint Evita. We went to Buenos Aires for a research trip, and there are multiple bars, Perón-themed bars. One was called Perón. One's literally called Saint Evita. And there's images of her still everywhere, and she's kind of canonized in this more sort of ritualistic rather than human way. And then you have this woman, but then there's like the political realities, which is that she inherited a country that was very politically unstable. The economy is fucked. It got worse under her, and then it crumbled, and she was overthrown by this junta, which then led directly into the Dirty War, which is the very, very dark period of Argentinian history where 30,000 people died. And a lot of people blame her for, it's kind of bringing about that sort of societal collapse that led to the junta.
Yeah, but, there's a difficult thing for us as well in Argentina, which is any Argentinians who do remember or know of Isabel, the majority of them dislike her. Right. They associate her with the beginning of the Dirty War, the worst period in Argentine modern history. And through further research, we realised that a lot of that is because the junta who overthrew her and then killed and disappeared over 30,000 people, they put it out while she was imprisoned that it was her fault through her own ineptitude that they had done this, and that anything that people were unhappy about, it was because of her, and she had been asking for it. Right. So like they told the public, this is Isabel's fault. And the public believed it. It's very difficult to be two English people sort of saying, oh, actually,
we don't agree with you. Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of, it doesn't really, for the show, it doesn't really matter because it's not, the show is, the narrative is Isabel Perón, but it's not literally about Isabel Perón. It's about some slightly more sort of universal sort of topics of history and historiography and
legacy.
And legacy, and who writes what about what, and therefore that's relation to power and stuff like that, which is not specifically about Isabel at all. It's about kind of everything. It's a show about it's about everything.
Yeah, well, your shows try to be a bit about everything, don't they? You try to cram a lot. I mean, with it, what you've told me just now, there must be enough you've discarded from what you've researched to make another 2 or 3 shows. So
Evita Too too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So how do you boil all of that down into one of your productions?
I mean, we do the hardest job of our career.
It has been hard. We do call ourselves maximalists. Like we're not like, we aspire, like the arts that we love. When we go and see like a piece of theatre or a piece of performance art, the stuff that me and Louise are really drawn to are things that are like have a very pure vision. Like the person has chosen one thing, and they're doing that thing brilliantly, and everything, all of the writing, all of the movement, everything is like channeled through this one pure choice. We don't do that. We aspire to that, and we keep that as our vision. And one day we might, but that's just not who we are. So, this show has been, it's been difficult to.
There's been many different rewrites of this show where different parts of the story are there, and the points we're making are different. Like as Becca said, there was an early version where it was about baggage.
It's been this kind of transitional show. So we started writing it, quite a lot of years ago, sort of 2021, and we were writing it, and there was a sort of original premiere version that happened at the Soho for a couple of weeks, and we made that with Adam, who was our director and my partner, and then he died in 2023, and then we did a rewrite sort of in the wake of his sort of immediate death, where we were reflecting more on the fact that Isabel Perón became president the morning after her husband died, and sort of being able to imagine the sort of, the unimaginable combination of grief and power and vulnerability and power that must have been like. And that was very present in that moment. And then now 2.5 years later, we are looking at the show again, and those feelings are still there, but we're in a different place. And so it's this sort of show that's stretched over this quite wide period of our lives, and quite a transitional time in our lives, kind of like mid to late 30s, where we were also, when Louise says legacy, we're thinking about sort of family and children, as well as sort of career legacy and personal legacy and stuff like that. And those situations have changed as well. So it's deciding which moments in time will come through in this.
So what is your process? Because the show's about an hour and a half, and there's a lot of stuff to cram in there, fast moving, I assume, and lots of stuff in there. So how do you put it all together? Where do you start?
So it starts with the research, obviously. We spend bloody forever researching, and that's usually actually our favourite part of making a show.
Yeah.
Just getting to nerd out on these topics that interest us and becoming obsessed.
We were fellows at the Eccles Centre for American Studies at the British Library as part of this research. So you have access, because there's not a single book in the English language about Isabel Perón, and there's basically only a few in Spanish. I speak Spanish, luckily, but they're really hard to get hold of. They're very rare and expensive. But through the British Library, we can access kind of documents and letters.
Like some like diary entries and letters she wrote during her incarceration.
So we had that period of sort of like deep research, and then we had the period of, okay, we need to go to Buenos Aires because the research is limited on the internet, and we then, like, what do people in Argentina feel about her? What can we find out being on the ground? And then you have the sort of shit theatre style research, which is when we found an article that said she only leaves the house to go to art openings and the church in Madrid. It was like, right, okay, we need to go to the church in Madrid, and we need to stage an art opening in Madrid, and it needs to be about
to it.
and it needs to be about her. We need to go to her house and invite her to it. So that sort of element of half research, half whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
Half Louis Theroux. And then there've been, for this particularly, because it's music, there's been a lot of songwriting and stuff like that.
And you do tend to have lots of stuff on stage with your props and costumes. At what stage do they come in, and how are they created?
Oh my God, David, not yet. We're fucking starting rehearsal in a couple of weeks. We're working with a set designer for the first time. And we've got like a bunch of nonsense props that have been with us for the whole Evita time. Some of Andrew Lloyd Webber inspired roller skates and Technicolor dream coats, and we have a helicopter that flies. But
we've got someone making a couple of corpse puppets for us.
Yes, some tasteful corpse puppets. So we wanted sort of Evita's corpse in the room, but we thought we didn't want to be tasteless, so we thought it would be more tasteful if the corpse puppet was Andrew Lloyd Webber dressed as Evita's corpse.
Right.
So we thought that would be more respectful
more
of women.
Acceptable, yeah.
More acceptable, yeah. So that's on their way. But it's TBC exactly on how much they'll be. Again, back to this
chairs.
Oh yeah, back to this maximalism thing. Like every time we do a show, there's usually some perishable item that we've decided that needs. We have to give people fucking beer, or for this show we give cheese sandwiches out to the audience every day. And for the expat show about Malta, we had just bag after bag after bag of props that needed to be set. Dollywood was quite similar. Shit, actually, a Christmas show we do is a living nightmare of costumes. But one day maybe there'll be nothing. Maybe David, maybe it would just be like a stand-up set or like a beautiful piece of.
Beautiful image, just us in the middle of the space. There's nothing.
Do you have a big stage management team, or is it all just you that's getting all that set?
We have one genius stage manager called Rose Hockaday. Yeah. We made this one show years ago that only got performed twice. It was called No Refunds, and it was about us trying to sell our souls to the devil in exchange for winning the lottery. And we'd sort of hooked up with this black witch on the internet who'd told us what we need to do that. And for that, we had one image, and it was that we would have a human-sized hamster wheel made, and that would be in the middle of the room, and that we would run on the human-sized hamster wheel. And that was quite a pure vision, except we forgot that.
Except,
yeah,
the person who made it for us, there was no mechanism in there that helped it keep a steady pace or slow down. Right. So literally in one of the 2 performances we did of it, I did that thing that hamsters sometimes do where they go upside down, and I got to the top and then I just fell on my back.
Yeah.
Right. So is that why you'd not brought that one back?
Kind of.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. We had to find a way of storing a human-sized hamster wheel outside our studio. I think it's probably still there, rotting outside.
So we didn't win the lottery. So
yeah.
So you do have a store somewhere of all the props that you use.
Yeah.
Except the human-sized hamster wheel, it didn't fit, so it was left outside and is slowly rotting.
Yeah. So if anybody wants the human-sized hamster wheel, just let us know.
Okay. The past shows that you've done, do they come back regularly, or some of them, apart from the as well as the hamster wheel one, are just some of them just gone?
They do come back. Yeah, we've got we're on tour with All What's Left of Us, which has been touring since it opened in 2020. Well, sort of late 23 was the first time we did it, and premiered in 24. The Shit Theatre Drink Run with Expats, which is the one that's set in Malta, that opened in 2019, and we were in Germany with that earlier this year, and that's coming back to Wilton's Music Hall at the end of sort of summer 26. So that's still touring, and it kind of changes in response to the sort of updated politics. But it sort of the course stays the same.
It's still relevant.
Sadly, it's still increasingly relevant. A show about immigration and who gets to call what home and stuff like that, and the small boats. It makes me sad thinking how depressingly relevant that show still is. We do our Christmas shows. Will never die.
People won't let them die.
We do sing along a Muppets Christmas Carol and Shit actually pretty much every year, apart from this year that we're doing Evita Too, which is not a Christmas show. It's just happening at Christmas, but it has all the elements of a Christmas show in that there are songs and there is nudity and good cheer.
Yeah.
I suppose.
all the things you want at Christmas.
All the things you want at Christmas.
For the last episode of the podcast, there was the person who was speaking to, we were also talking about immigration being increasingly relevant because, this was the artistic director of Border Crossings, Michael Walling.
Yeah, of course.
And in the name, it's about, crossing borders and about bringing people together. Mm-hmm. But we're also talking about, because they do a lot of devised productions, how that's quite a long and expensive process. And he was talking about how they apply for funding in stages along the route. So is that how you're funded? Do you apply for like development funding and then separately for the productions?
Yeah. I mean, so far. That's well, yeah.
With the original version of Evita Too at the Soho, we applied for funding for development, which we got the funding for, and then we applied for the funding for the shows, the production, and we did not get that funding, so we just had to do it on a shoestring.
Yeah, but at the moment, it's, I don't know, the arts fundings. Everybody knows it's a difficult time, so we sort of exist in a sort of hand to mouth sort of R&D to R&D, sort of the same sort of scenario as the Border Crossings guys.
Yeah, like everybody in theatre seems to be doing at the moment. It's a struggle for everybody.
Yeah.
But you've been going for 15 years, which is quite an achievement, really. How did you get together in the first place?
You're so old. We met. Well, you tell it then.
Well, we met at uni, and then we both did Lois Weaver from Split Britches. We both did her course in third year, but 1 year apart because Becca was a year in Spain. And 1 week as part of we had to do a public performance every week. And 1 week was you had to do a performance in the style of a performance artist of your choice. And separately, a year apart, Becca and I both did a performance in the style of Taylor Mac.
Right.
Who at the time, obviously much grander now, but at the time had very DIY costume that sort of summed up some of the political and personal elements of his performances. And he had this sort of frightening mask of a sort of drag sort of makeup. And so we both had sort of like white face paint, and which sort of had a sort of alienating sort of quality that you had to sort of push through to sort of bond with your audience. Yeah, and then we sort of, I was asked, someone who vaguely knew me and wanted to sleep with me, asked me to perform at their political night. And I said, only if I do it with my friend. And that is how Shit Theatre was born. We sort of combined those two personas we'd made separately.
Yeah. Successful vag block exercise, essentially, was what Shit Theatre was.
I know. Yeah. It's become a career, though, hasn't it?
Yeah. God, we love Taylor Mac. We saw this show called I don't know if you ever saw it. It was many years ago. It was called The Beast of Taylor Mac. It was on at the Soho Theatre, and we were like 19 years old, and there was a tube strike. It was like 2006 or 7 or something like that, and we were like sprinting across London trying to get like the bendy bus when that still existed.
Oh yeah,
the bendy bus to Soho to see this show that we just we loved so much. So that's been in our brains. But back when Taylor Mac was wearing newspaper costumes and playing the ukulele rather than playing whatever Madison Square Gardens or whatever Taylor Mac does now.
And that sort of aesthetic has kept with you with the makeup and the props and everything.
Yeah, I mean, the makeup is now, it changes for every show, sort of what we do with it. But it's kind of a relief, well, for me personally, to have that, what was a kind of a mask that you sort of work through to connect with the audience has become an almost sort of protective layer that, especially when we do not always loads of autobiographical stuff, but like an element of autobiography, and there's always an element of vulnerability being on stage at all when you're going, look, we've made something, come and have a look at this, there's something very vulnerable and scary about that, even if it is your job and you love it. But having that that slightly protective layer of we're not quite us, we're us with the Shit Theatre face paint on now, and we become kind of one unit together. As a double act, we don't do that thing where the double acts, the classic, they disagree with each other or they're fighting.
Don't have the straight man and the fool.
Right. No, we have Shit Theatre is like a united front that goes out on the same page, despite whatever's going on during the day. So the face paint's really good as we get older to hide the eye bags. Oh yeah, it's a nice relief.
It's nice and cool putting it on, really soothing.
Yeah,
we still put it on with our fingers though. We were talking the other day when we were fucking painting up. Sorry, I shouldn't swear.
For about the millionth time in 15 years, we were saying we should really buy makeup brushes.
We should buy makeup brushes. Maybe we should do it for the Southbank. Yeah, for the Southbank, we'll buy makeup brushes. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, some people are very superstitious about things like this. The methods that they've adopted. If you change it, does it spoil everything?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. That's in our head now.
Sorry.
No makeup brushes, Becca.
Okay, all right. No makeup brushes.
Fingers, just fingers.
And the name. It's the sort of name that maybe a student group would have come up with. But has it ever been? Do you still like it as a name, or has it ever been a bit of a millstone to you? Or?
It's definitely it's the problem when we play local radio stations. That's for sure. You're allowed to say shit on Radio 4, but you're not allowed to say shit on like BBC Radio. I don't know, Nottingham or whatever. Yeah.
Whatever.
And when our first ever show was called Shit Theatre Presents Shit Theatre, so it was really difficult to tell people what that was called.
Yeah.
Trying to get people to find that show was impossible.
Yeah.
We were on the radio in like a local show in rodeo show in Leith in Edinburgh, and we were something theatre. Theatre presents theatre.
Yeah. I do think names. You give something a name, and it then after a couple of times you've said it, it just is the name. Like nobody is sort of overthinking. Well, maybe I'm wrong about this, but nobody's sort of analysing Rash Dash or Figs and Wigs. That's just what once you've said it a few times, that is just the name of the company.
Yeah. And
people stop thinking about the actual content of the name. Would we call ourselves that now? Probably not, David. No, we're currently working on a show at the moment that's kind of semi in collaboration.
Start working on a show.
With a band called Martha and the Muffins. They made a song called Echo Beach.
So we well.
Yeah, oh great. Yeah, it's one of our favourite songs, and we're making a show next year called Echo 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 Beach about that song. And we were out in Toronto at Martha and the Muffins' house. And Mark, who wrote Echo Beach, was telling us, he was going, we hate the name Martha and the Muffins, but you name yourself something when you're 21 and then you're stuck with that for the rest of your life. I don't know if you can imagine that. We're like, yes, I
can imagine that.
We empathize very strongly with that concept. Yeah.
Yeah, like when somebody chooses an email address that they think's funny when they're a student and then they're trying to get a job with it.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean,
do you think it's too late for us to change it?
Well, it probably is now. Yeah, no.
Good to know.
I remember when you were doing Dollywood. Dolly Parton. She's quite famous, but to me, Martha and the Muffins is more impressive to me.
Oh God, I'm so glad you said that. We love them so much.
We love them. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, you're our target audience for that.
Okay.
Show.
Yes. Yeah, target over 50s male audience. Maybe you need to cast a bit wider. So that's the next thing. How far ahead are you planning something like that? When do you have a deadline that you work towards at this stage, or do you just see what happens?
We don't have a deadline. We do have like a back burner of show ideas that we sort of over the years we sort of have an idea of like, oh my God, we need to make that show, and we've already got 3 that we're planning to do before then.
But everything's still usually there's like a few things that are happening the year or year and a half ahead, but there's lots of question marks that eventually get filled up, so you never have a single day off for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But with Echo 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 Beach, it will premiere at some point next year or the year after, we imagine. What happens with Evita Too will depend on how well the Southbank goes. This is this constant thing of this level of theatre or any art, isn't it? If Evita Too goes well, it'll hopefully tour, and then hopefully we'll get more funding. There'll be more gigs. If Evita Too goes badly, we're potentially not going to pay our rent. So it's like that is in the air when you're about to. I don't know if you can tell, we're quite anxious, David. I think that is in the air when you're about to open a show.
Yeah, a lot of people that I interview are quite anxious when it comes to questions of funding in theatre. Because nothing's ever too certain.
No, never certain.
But like I said, you've been going for 15 years and you're touring internationally. You've got an international reputation.
Yeah, we do all right with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we've got that if everything fails at the Southbank.
And hopefully, like Dolly, you'll make it up to Manchester for me to see it sometime.
Oh, we hope so. We haven't played Manchester for a while. I think the last time we played Manchester was in the middle of COVID, and we were doing Shit, Actually, which is the Christmas show. And they said, we would like you to play T1, which is the sort of bigger room in home Manchester, a venue that we all love, where the seats are slightly more comfortable.
Empty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but it would be totally empty. And they're like, we want to play you a 2.5 week run, but you will come into an empty theatre every day and play the show to a camera, and there'll be a live audience who are watching on a live stream. And we had like a WhatsApp group where the audience joined every day and talked to each other and to us on stage. But we played every night to nobody, and it was amazing.
Right. Because
I absolutely loved that.
Home were one of the first theatres, I think, in the country to really have a proper programme as soon as COVID started. And they did have an outdoor theatre over the summer.
Yeah, it was great. It was the best sort of online theatre experience we'd had. That WhatsApp, the sort of interactive element that they'd managed to set up as part of it was really kind of heartwarming.
Yeah, and so instead of being able to interact with people during the show, they were we did had a tiny bit of interaction that we were able to do with some live streaming and getting someone up online in video form. But like just going home on the train every night or whatever, looking at the sort of the WhatsApp group, which it was just completely different every day. People just chatting to the shelves, shouting things out during the show. Yeah. There was like a couple of shows where it went. The tech was a bit funny, so it went up a bit late, and we like sent them pictures of our pets, and then the whole show just people like chatting and sending pictures of their pets. So that was always like a lovely, joyful thing to sort of look at once we'd done the shows.
Yeah, and people were very tolerant of things going wrong at that time as well, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. But hopefully we're back to Manchester with actual human beings in the room as well.
Yeah. That was Rebecca Biscuit and Louise Mothersole, a.k.a. Shit Theatre, talking about Evita Too, which will be performed in the Purcell Room at London's Southbank Centre from the 9th to the 31st of December 2025. For more information and tickets, see www.southbankcentre.co.uk or www.shittheatre.co.uk. You've been listening to a podcast from British Theatre Guide. For more information, please visit britishtheatreguide.info.